Mr. President, I appreciate the comments of my colleague and friend from Pennsylvania and the discussion of why we're here today on a late Thursday afternoon. We started off the week, I think, with an air of optimism that with the energy efficiency bill before us, we could get to that place where we could be debating substantive issues of the day. And as my colleague has noted, we haven't seen a real energy bill on this floor now for 7 years. And when you think about the landscape, the energy landscape in this country, and what has happened in 7 years' time. 7 years ago, we were looking to build import terminals to receive LNG. Now we're debating, or hoping to debate, the export of our LNG. I have kind of put a target on my back, if you will, and said, let's talk about what's happening with our oil potential in this country and our opportunity as a nation to export our oil, given that next year we will actually be producing more oil in this country than the country of Russia, than Saudi Arabia. But that's going to require some debate, discussion, some policy considerations. Mr. President, if we can't even get to the point where we can move forward on an energy efficiency bill, how are we ever going to advance some of these policy initiatives when it comes to our natural gas, when it comes to our oil, when how we might be able to deal with the issues such as nuclear waste that, quite honestly, until we can resolve these, are going to be holding back our opportunity to advance in this area. How we're going to really build out the potential in this country for our renewables and how we integrate them into an outdated system. There are so many policy issues that we have to talk about. So when people suggest that, well, all we want to do is talk about energy, I'm one senator that would love to do a lot of talk about energy. But Mr. President, I would also like us to be able to legislate on energy initiatives. I would like us to update some of our energy policies because as times have changed, unfortunately, some of our laws have not. Now, my colleague from Pennsylvania has mentioned that there was a time when we would have substantive debate. Take it back to the energy bills that were before us. When I first came to the Senate back in 2003, we took up an energy bill that at that time was on the floor. I know it was multiple weeks. It may have been multiple months. On July 25th, 2003, we resumed consideration of the energy bill. We had a unanimous consent agreement at that time that more than 370 remaining amendments would be in order. Now, 2003 may seem like a long time ago for some, but for me it just seems like yesterday, and I'm thinking about that. It's like, wow, we were able to come to a UC on 370 amendments. The Energy Policy Act, you go back to that, you look at the amendment log, it shows that more than 130 amendments from senators of both sides were considered. I think it speaks to the issues that were at play at the time. We're still basing most of our energy policy, of course, from those 05, 07 energy acts. So I think it is important to recognize that when it comes to something as significant as our energy policy in this country, the debate is worthy, the debate is important, and legislating on these is critically important. Mr. President, I know that there are conversations that are yet underway as to whether or not an amendment opportunity will be made available, whether the 4 or 5 amendments that the Republicans have offered that are being considered by the majority leader and the bill sponsors of Shaheen Portman, whether we will be able to reach a fair consideration for processing of those amendments. I would certainly hope that we are able to do just that. The energy efficiency bill, as I noted in my comments day before yesterday, the energy efficiency bill is good, sound policy. It's an important leg in the energy stool. When we talk about our energy resources and what we have available domestically, what we're able to be producing here, whether it's our fossil fuels, whether it's our renewable fuels, whether it is our alternatives, the recognition is that our most readily available energy source is the one that we don't waste. If we can be more efficient, if we can do more when it comes to conservation, this benefits all of us. So let's figure out how we can move an energy efficiency bill. This is round number 2 for us. Let us not allow the process to bog down a good bill and a bill that deserves to not only pass this body, but to be worked through the body on the other side and to ultimately be signed into law by the president. So I want to start work. I want to be legislating. I also recognize that this has been a difficult time for us all right now. We're not seeing a lot of legislation moving through this Senate, but I have been trying to use the time that I have as the ranking member on the Energy Committee, trying to use it wisely, trying to focus on those areas where we can really critically examine the energy policies that we have in place today and how we might refresh, how we might reimagine the energy architecture that we have. Last year, I released a pretty major report. We called it Energy 2020, and it's a blueprint that kind of lays out my view of a sound, robust energy policy. And I didn't want a report that had taken a lot of time and energy and effort and love and passion to just sit on somebody's desk. So we have been working in this past year to flesh out some of the details that we outlined in the blueprint. I've released now 4 separate white papers stemming from Energy 2020. The first one was on LNG exports. The second was on export generally, but also focusing on the specific issue of the prospect for oil exports. We released a very well-received white paper on electric reliability. And then earlier this week, I had an opportunity to release a white paper on the nexus between energy and water. All of these are available on the Energy Committee's website. I've given speeches here on the floor. I've addressed small groups, large groups, basically anybody that will listen, not only in my state in Alaska, but around the country. And my colleagues and those who have been listening have heard me say multiple times that what I'm looking for, what I'm hoping for, what I'm trying to build are laws and policies that will help us access our energy resources, to be able to have a policy that says our energy should be abundant, affordable, clean, diverse, and secure. And I joke about it and I say there's no acronym for that, but I have arranged it alphabetically so that you can remember it. But when you think about these 5 components, you say, well, you know, when you incorporate these all together, clean, diverse, secure, affordable, abundant, makes pretty good sense. I think that the effort that we have engaged in the Energy Committee has been a worthwhile effort, and I hope that this broader conversation will forge consensus on what I think we recognize can be some tough issues. So I've been working hard, even though we're not moving a lot of bills through the floor right now, but I've been working hard to try to advance the conversation on so many of these issues that I think are a priority.